sick, refuge of sinners, comforter of the afflicted. You know my wants, my troubles, my sufferings. Look upon me with mercy. When you appeared in the grotto of lilies, you made it a privileged sanctuary, where you dispense your favors, and where many sufferers have obtained the cure of their infirmities, both spiritual and corporal. I come therefore with unbounded confidence to implore your maternal intercession. My loving mother, obtain my request. I will try to imitate your virtues, so that I may one day share your company and bless you in eternity.
Pray for us.
All right, you guys. So I want to talk to you today about virtue. So remember what we're talking about, how this is framed. Okay, and I'm going to keep going over it because this is one of the principal points of the class. If you get this point, morality is objective. Morality is objective. Is objective. Is objective. Is objective. People say it's subjective. It's like How do we base morality being objective? We say one way to do it is teleology. And it's the way that the Catholic faith has usually explained the biblical teachings. So how is it that, for example, God, you know that something is right, and you're like, God will make you happy. So it's like, So we know that anything that makes me truly happy brings me closer to God. So it's like we shift there. The Bible doesn't say everything that's good, but we know that if it's good, it'll make us happy. This is teleology, which comes from what word, Bree?
End goal.
Nice. Telos. Nice, yep, which means end goal. So if I start looking at the end goals of things, this is a great way for you to talk with your atheist friends, your non-Catholic friends, and they're like, I hate Trump. And you're like, well, you're a hater. You just turn it right back on them and say, I can't believe such hateful speeches come out of your mouth. I hate Trump because he's a hater. And you're like, you're ridiculous. One way that you can dialogue with those types of people is by saying, wait, let's talk about the end that we're shooting for in our lives. And end goals, so there are to everything, or to all things, there is to everything a purpose. Okay. Some are higher, and by higher we mean specifically more final than others. What do we mean by final? Definition of finality?
The highest.
Higher.
It's like your highest goal that you're trying to achieve.
Yep. But it has a property. When it's final, it's that
For which, for the sake of which.
something.
For the sake of which is happiness.
Yep. But just finish the sentence coherently. You're right, but I want you to say it. It's that for the sake of which what? That for the sake of which something is.
I do for its own sake.
Yes, very good. So when we speak about higher, when we speak about things that are more final, we mean things that are done for their own sake and for the sake of which all other things are done. example of of finality in your own experience? Example, finality
Oh my gosh.
in your own experience.
Finishing a class.
Okay, how is that final?
There's an end date that you have to do a bunch of projects for, so you are doing your assignment for week 1 and trying to get a good grade so that by the end of it you have total a good grade in its totality.
But then also the reason that you would want the good grade is because you want a better job, and you want the better job because
You want to provide for your family.
you want to
You wanna
provide
have-
for your family, because you can bring them to God.
You're like, this is just the God. We know it's over. Okay, so very good. So now if I were to say to you that, I were to ask you, well, which is better? Doing a graduating class with a good grade, or eating a great meal. So it looks like this. You're down here at the level of the assignment, and your friends are at a restaurant. What do? You're Vincenzo. I could either come to class, or I can go drink a beer with Father Francis Therese. Now, which one do I do? My assignment, this. Which is better?
I mean, it depends on what
What
they're
is cool.
discussing at that great meal.
If you eat a great meal, you will not get a good grade. If you go with friends at a restaurant, you will not get the assignment done. You will not get a good grade. You will get a lesser grade in class.
It should be at class.
Well, hold on. What's he gaining by,
Eating a great meal, you could say,
Yeah, what if he gets a job offer at that great meal, which makes him like,
yeah, but let's
he's
suppose
making
he's
all
not going
kinds
to.
of connections at this bar.
we need more context.
You guys are being so silly. We're not here telling stories.
He should come
Which
to class.
is better? Thank you. And now explain to me why, based upon the principles that we've been teaching you.
Because his end goal is God.
Yes, very good.
And that will help him achieve it even though it's way
Okay.
down here.
So do you see what you're doing when you do that?
Yeah.
You're reasoning outside of Scripture about morality as if it's an objective thing. Isn't that cool? You just used your mind to answer without any reference to faith whatsoever about what's right and wrong. You use a different principle, the principle of finality.
Well, because
So, say someone else comes in here and sees this whole, whatever, like, so the assignment leads to God, but then they would argue that hanging out, having a beer at a restaurant with your friends also leads to God.
but you could take, I mean, for someone else though that doesn't believe in God, you can take out, like, they still have an end goal, which might be providing for their family, and so like finishing assignment would still help them achieve their end goal.
Yes, you can achieve your end goal. My question wasn't, is one wrong and one right? I said, which is better? An example, when people talk about smoking marijuana, how do you answer that it's bad? You're like, we don't. It's bad because it's too strong of a relaxant. And it forms lifestyle that is a lifestyle that's not one of achievement, but of self-medication from reality. And so, yeah, it's good to be relaxed, it's good to take it easy. But eventually, you're no longer shooting for union with God anymore. You're just shooting for self-medicating yourself. and therefore that's a bad choice. It's the only argument that I've ever been able to come up with that really holds water. Because you say it's bad in the Bible, people say, well, the Bible says, nope, there's no plant that God made that is poisonous. Da, 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 da. And so they throw that one out at you, you know. Then you just talk about intoxication and say, well, you're not intoxicated. Da, 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 da. So you get, well, it's harmful because it actually destroys your lungs. That one you got on. But beyond that, I'm just like, it's a cop-out. It's a cop-out excuse. This is not the way to relax. It's too strong. It relaxes you too much. And you should stay away from it because then you form a lifestyle of relaxing. Okay, but there again, that whole reasoning, what was that based upon? Look, where are you going? When you're smoking your dope, you're not painting, you're not playing the violin, you're not speaking Greek. What are you doing? Okay, so I do it every once in a while. Well, I suppose if you did it every once in a while, it's not the end of the world. But it's still negative because there's more positive ways to relax that you should be choosing. Who are you to tell me? Who are you to judge? I'm someone who has a brain. Who says it's smarter to play soccer than to smoke marijuana. How it works.
Yeah.
Okay, now, if you went over here, how about I'm going to become an addict? How can you tell me that that's wrong? Smoking, or like, here's an example. Remember I told you that story about Zach? The guy in the mountain that was going to jump off the mountain, he was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like, how would you prove to him that his activity is wrong?
But
Bad.
what if he has no other end goal? Like, how do you prove that? Like, you know, in his case, he's just like, I'm going to jump anyhow. Like, so he clearly has no other end goal for his life than to just jump off cliffs.
Are end goals chosen, or are they there whether you choose them or not?
They're there whether you choose them or not, but how do you convince someone that it is there is the problem.
That's a pastoral question.
Hey, good thing we have a priest here.
You know, if I would have talked to him, like, you know, there's almost nothing you can do when he's standing there. But you're also like, dude, what about me? I thought I was your friend. You can't jump for my sake. I can't let you jump. If you jump, you'd be denying my friendship. I'm never talking to you again. That's what I would tell him. I don't have time for this. I love you. You're important to me. So he, at that point, isn't thinking about anybody else but himself. And that's wrong, dude. This is so wrong. Why? Because we're made for each other. Okay. You guys are seeing what you're doing. This is really a powerful tool. It's teleology. This is coming right from this document that you're reading. This is the source of that thinking. This is the foundational document that changes Western civilization. Isn't that cool? Written 400 years BC. Keep thinking that someone in a monkey suit's going to come out of the corner. Haunted
waiting.
by gorilla suits.
Why are you worried about that tonight?
I just
Because
feel,
not everybody's here.
they're not all here, so they're like, someone's going to come in a monkey suit. I just know it's going to be the end of the day. Okay, so first point you got to get this, I want you to understand is this teleology. The goal, end goal. Okay. Then he ends up going on and saying, well, what exactly is happiness? So he says the end goal is, of all human activities, is happiness. Who remembers how he defines happiness?
It's the activity of soul in accordance with the best and most complete virtue.
Wow.
I have a great
Lee.
memory.
You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
With the best and most complete virtue. Okay. So then that begs the question, what is virtue? So if he defines happiness as an activity in accordance with virtue, we need to ask this question, what is virtue? Virtue comes in our experience. Can you tell me what your experience is of virtue? When I say virtue, what do you think about?
Holy people.
Okay. And what's an example of virtue?
choosing good. So in the morning, the virtuous thing would be to not press the snooze button on your alarm clock.
Wow. Okay. And why do you think that's called virtue?
Does virtue mean something like that?
Yep.
The root
Vir
word?
in Latin is the same word as man. So virtue is actually manliness. Isn't it awesome? Now, why should we not like men? We should like men. So therefore, it's really wonderful to celebrate manhood by saying it's what makes you a man. So that's, in other words, it also comes from the word for strength. The word man and the word strength in Latin are linked. So when I say that you have virtue, I'm saying that you have strength of soul. Now, let's break that down. What are the two powers, spiritual powers of the soul? When I say soul, what do you hear? Go ahead, you can be wrong. Go ahead. What is the soul to you?
I mean, it's your spiritual, yeah, part of your body.
Kind of like Casper the Friendly Ghost living inside, floating around.
Yeah, he's just hanging out in there.
Soul. Yeah, I mean that's what everyone thinks of course. I think of that too.
You asked what I
I
thought
know.
of when
I know. I'm trying to teach you. That's what's great about this class is you're actually learning. Soul, actually, though, I don't want you to think of it anymore as Casper the Friendly Ghost living inside. Which is what we
That's
think
what
of.
I'm gonna think of now.
I know, I
that you
never
said
did
that.
Casper
Yeah.
before.
Oh,
Now
yeah.
I'm like,
Every time I think of soul, I think of those stupid ghosts from Pac-Man that follow
Oh,
behind
yeah.
Pac-Man. Inky things. That's what I imagine soul to be like. Isn't that ridiculous?
oh my gosh.
So
So as I paint soul, I paint Pac-Man ghost.
my niece one time asked my brother how to paint or how to draw a girl holding her soul. So my niece is like, she's like 4 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. Good luck with that one.
No, she can just draw Casper.
Any imagining you have about soul is wrong. You can't imagine it because it has no physicality. So what you do know about soul is that soul is the source of two powers. Can you name them for me, please? No. What's a power that you have that no dog, beast,
Intellect.
thank you, monkey, whatever kind of stupid animal there is, they're all stupid. What's the second will? What's the second one?
Will.
Flipped. Okay. Intellect and will. So these two powers, why would they need to be strong? What are they strong against? What are they strong against?
Vince, this one's you.
Meaning, like, why would you need strength for them to exercise their power? What is the soul in?
Body.
United to our body in its exercise. So I don't mean sports. An exercise in its act. Okay, so if I am a body, we're looking at what is virtue. You're missing the best class of the year, bro. Screwing around. Okay. If my soul and my body are united, then when I act in my soul, I also am acting in my body. Go over that again. I'll put it in orange. That's all that was a deep thought. I'll let that sink in. This is really important, guys. This is like totally the most awesome thing in the world. Okay? If my soul and body are united, and action in the soul requires the cooperation, the operation with, cooperation of the body. Now, watch this. It's united with my body. What is my body? My soul gives me intellect and will. What does my body give me? Well, of course, it gives me physicality. We won't have to mention about that, like place, weight, size, number, extension, okay, all that kind of stuff. What it gives me also, it gives me moods. And it gives me memory. If you were, every time you touch, if you were, for example, scared by someone with a gorilla suit 3 times in your life, you would have this like shivered on your spine without even being able to control it at the very thought that there was a gorilla that was standing behind you. And you would want to close the door, for example, just in case a gorilla came in. And you would not even be able to explain why you're so afraid of a gorilla, except that your body carries this memory.
You are totally setting yourself up to get scared by a gorilla.
That's because my body carries the memory of the gorilla. What are you texting in the middle of class? Come on. No, we do not need this. We do not need this. So, moods, memory, personality. You inherit from your parents. Your dispositions. I'm so happy, Bree, you're writing this down instead of texting. I'm glad you're all writing this down because I'm not just making this stuff up. This is actually important for you. These are all the different elements of who you are. There's actually 13 of them, but I won't bore you with intelligence. I'll just try to get big concepts through your thick skull. Strength of soul, my intellect and my will, is united in my body. That means that all of these things have to be dealt with. An example would be fatigue, emotions. These are not in the soul, these are in the body. So when I'm trying to think and I am in a bad mood, it will require strength to think through the bad mood. See? Isn't that cool? My strength of my soul, therefore, can be understood as follows. Strength of soul, that equals the ability to exercise thought and love correctly, consistently, and joyfully. No matter what the condition of the body. An example of this would be the virtue of patience. One of my favorite virtues. This is a virtue that I actually tried to work at. And I've been trying to work at for years. When you're in a class, the students aren't paying attention, and you're throwing out pure diamonds, and they're looking at you like you are a gorilla, what do? Do you stop teaching? When you're teaching and there's noise outside the classroom, and everyone's looking at the door of the classroom, and you're like, I can't believe I even exist. The temptation is to quit. In other words, I'm not going to love. I'm in a bad mood, so I'm not going to smile. I'm in a bad mood, so I'm not going to tolerate this. I'm overwhelmed, so I'm going to scream. These are all signs of weakness. Virtue is the strength to endure hardship in the body, but to continue the course of the soul despite that hardship. So, if you look at patience, it means that when the body is suffering, I endure. Patience actually comes from the Latin word passio. So when I'm in passion, when I'm suffering, I'm able to persevere. It requires patience. This is St. Paul says this, for example. He says, what you need more than anything else, Christians, is patience. What he means by that is, you need to be able to endure suffering. Patient. Like when you are a patient, you are acted upon. Someone who has patience is able to be acted upon and not be deterred. Amazing. Give me an example of another virtue. What is the virtue that would go, for example, if your body is more predisposed towards anger? What virtue would you need to not allow anger to overcome you? Nice. Yeah.
Is there another word for it?
Yes. Fortitude. You'll never guess this one. No? Well, the word, but you got the concept. All right, so give me, based upon that reasoning, I want you to teach me. What is fortitude with respect to anger? How does that work?
Controlling your passions, not letting them dictate your actions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in anger, what would that look like? What would you want to do when you're angry?
Rather than taking it out on somebody, you would be vicious to yourself in the sense of take your anger out, not on yourself, but kind of. So you would I don't know.
Don't take it out on yourself.
No, but I mean, you fight anger with,
Okay, give me this, Brie, or someone. When you get angry, what is that? What is that? What's happening?
I mean,
you're being selfish.
No.
not selfish, but
Be
you
more
lost
precise.
control of your passion.
Okay, what passion is being stirred up?
Wrath.
Okay, and what stirs up wrath?
When things don't go the way that you planned.
Nice. To be
When someone's in a
precise.
gorilla suit right outside the door.
Is that real?
This is not fun.
This is hilarious.
Wait, what was that?
I'm actually kind of scared now too.
And every passion, a passion has an object. So, what you want to remember about the passions, you can put this down here, it's in the body. Your body has passions, and some people are more passionate than others. You just meet this personality. Some people just they don't care about sounds. And then other people care about sounds. Some people don't care about the visual. Other people do. That depends on your passion. So and some people are just like rabbits. They are just sensitive as a horse. They can feel your emotion. bodies, their passions, are completely like so sensitive that they feel you. They feel what you're thinking, they feel what you're feeling, and they're just like a horse. They're just intuitive because they're just based upon what they're feeling, because they actually can feel you.
I would not use a horse to describe.
Horses are so sensitive.
I just wouldn't have guessed that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's why you can
So
almost
big.
like test if a person is good by bringing around a horse. Because the horse senses right away if they're in peace or not.
That makes sense.
So, these passions are always caused by an object. So, an example of a passion would be anger. What causes anger? And Vince gave you the answer. Very good. Very good thinking. Actually, what you could put it is this: disorder. This is why anger, for example, is the most intellectual of all of the passions. People whose intellect are awake get angry. Bill O'Reilly gets angry. Why? Because it shouldn't be this way. So he lacks virtue, but he at least has the passion of disorder. The more awake you are to the world, it's like that, there's this bumper sticker like you'd see at colleges on people's cars. It says, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. It's not that kind of stupidity. But what they're trying to say is, if you actually think about things, you see the disorder, and that will cause anger. So an angry person will be like, why is this here? Am I the only one to see the Cheerios on the ground? I told you to have the house clean when I came home, and you couldn't even clean the house when you came home. They'll always be asking these types of questions, and they'll be enraged by things that are out of place. So what they need, what's happening, is they need to be able to control their passion in the presence of a disorder. That control is the word fortitude, which literally in Latin means strength. This is something I always found surprising. That means an angry man is actually a weak man. You find someone who's blustery, he or she's just, she's angry. When it means you lack control. When you see disorder, you act. You got to be able to see disorder and not react with your passion, but react with your brain. Your passion isn't going to reinstall the order. Your brain is. This is why I call, this is what the Navy SEALs would say, channel your pain into aggression. They're actually saying, build up that fortitude. Get angry enough about it to do something about it, instead of just getting angry like a dog.
So what about lust? What's the object?
So an object for lust, the passion of lust, if we were to do that. So if you'd say lust, what is caused by lust? This would be a sexual object.
Is that a person?
No.
Okay.
Isn't that awesome? So the passion of love you could have towards a person. But the passion of, so when the person is reduced to an object, lust comes into the equation. That's why it's never okay to lust. It is okay to have eros, to see a person in their sexuality. That's called what makes the world go round. To make kids come because you see the person, and then you see the person as capable of bearing children, and next thing you do is you bear children, and it's a wonderful thing. But it's always assumed and carried in this deeper love. When you reduce it, that's when lust comes into the perspective. Lust is not eros. Lust is that. So that's why, when a person is portrayed as a sexual object, the face is not the focal point. Or if it is, it's a distorted face, which is only just to show that one element. That's why there's a famous story I like very much. I think it was like, I don't know, some of the famous actress in the 1950s, and I don't know who she was, but she was like one of the killers there. Everyone was just like, oh, she's so beautiful. And she showed up at a party in Paris, and General de Gaulle was there. General de Gaulle was the cat's meow because he liberated Paris from the Nazis, even though he didn't. Patton liberated Paris, and then he let de Gaulle go in first, and de Gaulle took all the credit for it. So, whatever that is, long history of the French and Americans. He saw her at the party, and then he just turned to his friend and said, if only she'd stop talking. She's ruining it. Easy thing when you find yourself in this situation is to get back in touch with this. Yeah. What's she like when the makeup's off? What's she like when she's going shopping for peanut butter? What's she like when she's got to take out the garbage? Okay. So, what I'm saying in all of this then, when Aristotle says that the activity is, or happiness is an activity according to virtue, what he's actually saying is that happiness is acting with my soul in control, living for things that I can know / contemplate and love in and with my body, but not stopping there. An example of this would be the virtue of temperance. Temperance is so critical because if you don't have temperance, you actually mess up the eating and drinking experience. Instead of actually drinking in a way that makes you more human, enjoying an encounter with a relaxant, a depressant that facilitates conversation and makes time still so that you can enjoy the moment with a friend, you instead get drunk. It's like, now, which is better, getting drunk or enjoying the moment with a friend? Which is better objectively?
Enjoy the moment with your friend.
Why?
Because you'll remember it.
But,
Why, according to the principle that we learned?
because
It's the virtue of
your
saying
virtue,
happiness.
and happiness is acting with my soul and controlling it.
Good, but it's also because of the principle of
Finality.
yes. That is to say that it's a higher thing to be with a friend than to get drunk. Getting drunk is good, it makes us happy, you're right, just at a lower level. So you should choose to live a higher level. Above the line, always above the line.
Be a shark.
Be a human. So, if you eat too much ice cream, you won't enjoy it. And so what you need is that your body says, eat the ice cream, eat a huge one, put your face in it and roll around. And your soul says, I don't need that. I just want something a little bit sweet. Temperance is the ability to hold back the raging horse. Temperance is actually so in temperance you don't go after what's easy. In fortitude you do go after what's hard. So happiness is acting my soul in control, living for the thing that I can know and contemplate and love, in and with my body, but not stopping. So I really like her. Oh, she's great. And my body says, oh, she'd be wonderful to have as a wife and bear children with. And so what I do is I say, I'm not going to stop there. Of course, she's really wonderful to have as a wife and bear children with, but like that's not where I'm going to stop. Where I'm going to love is her or him. Oh, he'd be just so great. He'd protect me, and he'd talk to me, and he'd be there for me, and he'd support me, he'd understand me, but I'm not going to stop there. That's just my body. That's my emotionality. What I really want is this person. So that works. So that requires of us, since that's what happiness is, therefore I need virtue, or else my ship will sink. This is one of the reasons why I insist on the dress code. It's not been super insisted upon, but it's going to be insisted upon in about a week and a half. After I can have a meeting with the team tomorrow, and we can talk about it, because I think you've been more or less there, but I want to re-emphasize it, because I think it's a beautiful thing. Why the dress code? Why do we comb our hair? Why don't we cuss? Why do we wash our hands? Why don't we speak about things that are illegitimate? It's all these like things of discipline that grate against us. It's exactly it. They're things of discipline that grate against our physicality to enable and to empower this. Let me tell you this. I was in England at no joke. I was in England at high school for boys,
Look out the door.
like a boarding school, an all-boy boarding school that was extremely elite. Winston Churchill went to this school, for example. This is where he was when he was born. It's called Harrow on the Hill. I'm telling you, I have never met a group of young people more edifying than these boys. They were 13 years old, but they were engaging, intelligent, inquisitive, polite, responsive. I remember very well, I was in the cafeteria with a bunch of 13-year-olds who were wearing tuxedos because it was Sunday, and on Sundays, gentlemen dress up. And so they were all in tuxedos, and they were getting their food and sitting down at the table. And so I had my tray, and I was going through, dressed in my habit, And so they were like, brother, come here with us. And so I'm like, okay. So I sit down, and there's a whole group of them, and they're all gathered around. Now tell us, where are you from? Well, I'm from Ohio. Oh, that's marvelous, Ohio. I don't think I know where Ohio is. Isn't that near Lake Erie? Yes, my gosh, how did you know that? Well, I just know a few things about America, but I would love to know more. And I'm serious, that's how the conversation was going. And your family, and this, and all of them paying attention, listening, because a guest was at table. This is how you interact. I loved it. I left the conversation more human. We engaged, we debated, we reacted, we interacted, we had a conversation that was meaningful, and you left having eaten, feeling like you just eaten. They were 13 years old. Now, those same boys, when I went to their dorm rooms, had half-naked women on the walls, they were taking drugs, and the number one problem at the school was suicide. Number one problem. You go into church and are you thinking about killing yourself? And with like half of them missing, the numbers missing at the bottom. Because that's what was happening. So, but what they possessed, they didn't possess virtue because they weren't really loving me. But what they did possess is the discipline. And it was so awesome to not be the beasts reaching across each other, talking about nothing, chewing with their mouth open. When I go to grades or high schools in America, the kids run away from me. I'll never forget North Dakota. This was in I forget the name of this town. And I went to the high school, Trinity Catholic High School, and I set hey guys, how are you? And I set my tray down, and the whole table got up and left.
Oh.
They were all like, see ya, bye.